And there's bacon coming later. Morning. Sorry it was a bit late. Mark was dashing out of the house, except he didn't dash. Took him forever. Oh, Maddie, Kiki, run this out to him. Quick, as we go. He'd forgotten his asthma pump. Morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Morning. God, it's been insane this morning. Absolutely insane. We had so much to do, and we've just recorded our latest podcast of Agony Aunt and Uncle. The quiet sub who sent us her message, anonymous, we have answered your problem, and yeah, whew. That was a biggie for you, wasn't it? So morning, everyone. So that will be going up later tonight, Agony Aunt and Uncle. If this is your first time visiting our channel, please do have a look around. We've got loads of stuff going on here. We do cookery, gardening, movie reviews, TV reviews, trailer reactions, family reality show, and we've got lots more coming as well over the months. Right, God. Okay, we're going to be talking about Gary Glitter. We're going to be talking about the Fiona Bruce story, which I have to say I'm finding a bit confusing. And I've just found this story around dyslexia, which I thought for a lot of you will be very interesting. And I mostly want to hear what you think about that, because I'm a bit torn on it, if I'm honest. Morning, Mummy Bear Richardson. Morning, Jane Grimsby. Morning, Sonia Donovan. Morning, Carol Ward. Morning, Jane Oxley. Morning. Gary Glitter should not have been released from prison, says Jane Oxley. Well, yeah, we talked about this last week, didn't we? Do you know what? I was just reading an article, again, of all the things that he's done. I mean, never mind when he went over to, I think it was Vietnam, and lived there and rented a big villa and had the house filled with young girls. That we can't do him for in this country. But how he got out, we will never know. We talked about it last week, didn't we? I mean, the thing is, he'd served his sentence. No, he got out early. That was right. Yeah, he got out early. He was freed in February after serving half of his 16-year jail term, half, for sexually abusing 3 schoolgirls. He was jailed in 2015 for attempted rape, 4 counts of indecent assault, and 1 of having sex with a girl under 13. Probation service spokesman said protecting the public was their #1 priority. That's why we set tough licence conditions, and when offenders breach them, we don't hesitate to return them to custody, which has happened. Hooray! So when he was released, he was subject to very close monitoring by the police and probation officers. Thank God. Now, it's strange because last night, when we were looking at this story, it said that the reason around him being taken back into prison was that he had been heard in his halfway house place to be asking around on how you go on the dark web without being caught. But today, and forgive me, it was because we're in a bit of a rush with everything else we had to do. We're just having a quick look around the stories, and we can't see that. And we were like, are we imagining it? I mean, but the main point is that he broke his bail conditions within weeks of being let out, which, to be quite frank, all of us said at the time, didn't we? What the hell is he coming out for? Why give him the chance? Because the thing is, he could have broken his bail conditions with something so much more serious. Exactly. Vanessa, many people can change and deserve a fresh start, but he showed no remorse. So reoffending was inevitable. Exactly. And I'm a great believer in giving people another chance, but not with something so dangerous as this. Now, I don't know whether this means that he will serve any extra time. I'm presuming that it means now he will serve his full sentence. Does anybody know? Is that what's going to happen? Will he serve his full sentence now? One of you lovely people will know. As I say, as Mark said, God, we're hardly prepared for this coffee moaning this morning. But we thought we don't want to not do it because I know lots of you look forward to it first thing in the morning. Yeah, Della, no remorse, so shouldn't have been released. I mean, I always thought, and maybe it's because I listen to too many American true crime podcasts, that it's a huge part of being released early. They have to admit to the crime, which in some circumstances is just awful because somebody has, like, said all the way through that they're innocent. They've done their time and are now able to get probation. They still insist they're innocent, and then they're not allowed to get probation. I've been listening to a recent podcast on that. It was absolutely heartbreaking. So this person ended up doing 25 years because he just wouldn't say he was guilty. Hannah, I don't think legally, even if he's recalled, he doesn't have to serve the full sentence. Do you think? I mean, I think if you break your bail conditions, especially if what we saw yesterday is true, we definitely read that last night, but the fact that I can't see it in any articles now makes me think, was that wrong information? Especially if it's, so connected to what he did, especially if it's about trying to find out how to get on the dark web. Hope Chambers, I totally agree. It's immoral and disgraceful to risk what he might have done. I know. He should absolutely serve full sentence, Saab Turbo. Bev Berry, anyone? Oh, Bev, in the middle of it all. Anyone got any tips to get over a bad cold, quick, naturally? Well, I give this tip all the time, which is grated ginger, fresh ginger, grated turmeric with a little black pepper in it, and lemon juice, some honey if you want. It's not necessary, but honey if you want, into hot water and drink it hourly. And lots of vitamin C. That's what I say. That's what I do. Yeah, garlic, onions, and not to eat junk food, because the better your quality of food, the more your immune system is going to like that, and the more sleep you can get. I saw, who's this? I saw the dark web article about him earlier today as well. Did you? Yeah, we couldn't find it. So, I mean, look how completely, that is absolutely linked to his crimes. I mean, what other reason is, you're only going on the dark web for bad things, aren't you? So he really should serve his full sentence. No, me too, but I don't think we should cut off the hands of people, repeat burglars. I definitely don't. I don't know whether you were like joking there or you were serious. No, I definitely don't believe in that sort of thing at all. But, it was on Apple News, Emma Walsh. Lee Durrant, I honestly believe if someone is released and they reoffend, they should go back and serve their sentence. Well, I mean, the thing is, he's broken, they said, didn't they? When everyone was up in arms about him being released after only doing 8 years of a 16-year sentence, and the probation officer said that we, put in these really tough rules and regulations, and they are. Everything is watched, aren't they? Everything they do is watched. And I mean, playing devil's advocate, it has actually worked because they've caught him very quickly and he's back in prison. But I don't think they should have taken the risk in the first place. Elaine Durney, it's everywhere. So it was him searching the dark web. I think he needs to go back for the rest of his life, Bev Berry. Well, I mean, when somebody has offended so much in the most horrific way and shown no remorse, and we hear all the time that paedophiles can't be fixed, you do kind of think that, don't you? Because you just have to think of the innocent children that are going to suffer from the mistakes of somebody being released. I mean, absolutely as well, when somebody has done no rehabilitation and hasn't apologised, hasn't done anything. I mean, it's clear that he's still completely in that way of thinking. I mean, to me, he's like, he's deranged. I don't know. He could have reoffended, Angela Thompson, he could have reoffended deliberately as they do when they're in a relationship in prison. Oh, I'm not sure what you mean, Angela. Yeah, anyway, moving on from that. I suppose we'll hear at some point today what's going to happen. I mean, does he have to go through some sort of, I was wondering this, will he have to go through some sort of interview where they make a decision about what they're going to do with, oh, hi, Jacqueline Frost, we were asking about you today and wondering whether you were okay. Will he go through the whole probation thingy again? And then will there have to be a judgment, or is it just automatic? Well, we'll find out soon enough. Right, Fiona Bruce story. Does anybody know this? Has anybody been following this Fiona Bruce story around question time? I have to say, I'm a little bit confused by this, and I'm really worried that it's another one of those situations, and in fact, Fiona Bruce does allude to this, where due to a social media storm, something has been forced. Okay, I know that the one-off. Okay, so let me just tell you for those that don't know. So, this was something that had, so she's the presenter of Question Time, right? And so basically, so she stepped in, Fiona Bruce stepped in when Stanley Johnson, former Prime Minister Boris, was described as a wife beater on last Thursday's episode of Question Time. So Fiona interjected whilst the guest was speaking and said, just so that everyone knows, that this is referring to Stanley Johnson's ex-wife, who spoke to a journalist, Tom Bauer, and said that Stanley Johnson had broken her nose and that she ended up in hospital as a result. Stanley Johnson has not commented publicly on that. Friends of his have said it did happen. It was a one-off, right? Her comments were criticised by the charity's Women Aid, who called them unnecessary and irresponsible. We know at Women's Aid that domestic abuse is rarely, if ever, a one-off, with the vast majority of abuse being a pattern of behaviour, said Chief Executive. Even if abuse is an isolated event, it will still have been domestic abuse and it should never be minimised. Now, absolutely, to all of that. Couple of things here. Fiona Bruce, as a presenter, and she's an extremely, experienced presenter, absolutely had to do what she did, right? You cannot let a guest say something that hasn't been proven in a court of law, you cannot let it just be absolutely said that he is a wife beater. So what she had to do, she had to actually quote what had been said about him. Okay, absolutely. If she hadn't, you'd be in trouble. The editor in the ear would be saying, make sure you have to give balance, you have to give the other side. This would have been in no way Fiona Bruce's opinion. And what I find so bizarre is that friends of his have publicly said it did happen, but it was a one-off. Like, he broke her nose, but it was just a one-off. A one-off. I mean, of course we're all totally horrified by what his friends said, but it wasn't what Fiona Bruce said. You'll see it all the time. And in fact, we were once in a situation with a certain guest that said something that it really did sound like it was a very similar thing actually. And I remember us on Loose Women that everybody saying, Because some of us had heard it and some of us hadn't, and the editor's saying you have to give balance back the other way. You always have to do that. Because as a presenter, you can get sued. Did you know that? As a presenter, you can get sued. As a programme, you can get sued. Now, she will have done, so I just want to say, so she was worked as an ambassador for the charity Refuge. And she stepped down from her work as an ambassador, which will have brought, revenue in, which have brought awareness in. And I just think it's such a shame. What do you think? I mean, Fiona Bruce has actually said, where did she said? She said she'll be leaving her role with real sadness. She added that her words had been mischaracterised in a social media storm. Now, I suppose it's two things here. If Refuge have asked her to step down, then she has to. She's got no choice. But if she has stepped down, I think that's a real shame due to a Twitter storm. I think that's a real shame. Don't you? Because I think, you've got it. I mean, I can only assume, we don't know that the charity has asked her to step down. Because I can't imagine her being bullied into something by Twitter, or maybe she just feels disheartened. But I think it's such a shame if somebody's done years of good work for a charity to be put in that position. I think Fiona Bruce, Faith says, was just putting an alternative point of view into discussion, a question. I'm not saying she agreed. Exactly. Why do people think she agreed with that, or that she was indeed saying? She's a very smart woman. She's worked with Refuge. Why would anyone think that she's condoning a broken nose as a one-off? But does anyone agree? Does anybody think that it was right for her to step down? Me too. Question though, why didn't Bruce simply clarify her position? Because it would look like she's against Johnson, catch-22. She can't have an opinion. She's not supposed to have an opinion on him. So she absolutely can't. It's a bit like being, she's like the lawyer in that situation that has to give the other side of the story, but she can't say, if she were to then cast her opinion on Stanley's behaviour or not, she would also she'd have to then balance back herself. So she can't do that. Vanessa Wild, I feel sorry for battered women in Refuge, not Fiona Bruce. And yes, she had to step down. I don't feel sorry for, it's not that I feel sorry for Fiona Bruce. I feel sorry for the situation, because here we are again, where a huge social media storm forces the hand of somebody that I don't think, personally, I do not believe for 1 second she was condoning that behaviour or agreeing that there can be such a thing as a one-off violent act where somebody's nose gets broken. I don't. I think she just had to give the balance, because, it hasn't been said in a court of law that he is a wife batterer. You can't just go on telly and just say anything about somebody. Now, I know that this has been said to a journalist by his ex-wife, but, she's absolutely done her job. Tracy, what's this? Faith, yeah. Anchor on Loose Women has to do the same thing, put the other point of view. Every anchor has to. That is fundamentally the job of the anchor, is to look out for the, where there could be any breach of the law, any chance of anybody suing. That's suing you as a presenter. I could say something that could be that could be a bit off key. And, I'm on with Kay. Kay will say, but Nadia, so-and-so says such and such. You've seen this a million times. So I suppose, what am I saying? I'm saying I'm surprised that this has become such a big thing, because this is what's happened since the beginning of time with anchors. It's just what the job is. It seems very strange to me. But I don't know whether I'm missing something. So if I am, let me know. Pam PMS, why the outrage for Fiona and not Stanley? This is what I was saying to Mark. My outrage, again, nothing has been proven in court. My outrage is that there are friends saying It happened, but it was only a one-off. How can you stay friends with somebody if you know that they've broken the nose of somebody? How could you say, oh, yeah, he did that, but it was just a one-off? Bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Can you say happy 6th birthday to my grandson, William, Julie Hilton? William, happy 6th birthday. Is it your birthday today? Are you 6? Happy birthday. Bonnie Delaney, I was confused by that too. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Yeah, and quite right. Well, that's what I said to Mark. The discussion for me is not whether Fiona Bruce was right to do her job, because she absolutely had to do. My discussion for me is, could you stay friends with somebody if you knew that they'd broken their wife's nose? Discuss. Like, no way. That would be it, wouldn't it? Would it? I'm assuming that would be the case for everybody. MeTube, I bet they stayed friends because, well, it's the Johnsons. Or maybe the whole group of friends feel the same way. Wow, just a one-off. Just awful. And the thing is, imagine for those women that have been abused in a similar way by somebody, and they hear that that can be discussed as a one-off. Now, that's the friends, not Fiona Bruce. Fiona Bruce didn't say it. She was quoting. She was giving balance. What's this? Nadia, please can I have a belated birthday? Was Friday just gone? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tina. Happy birthday to you. Erin, because you're not allowed to comment on politicians, especially if you'll criticise them. We live in a cancel culture world perpetuated mainly by right-wingers that don't want to be criticised. Well, the thing is, you know, you look at all the furore around Gary Lineker. You can't, you know, there are rules and regulations. Now, Gary Lineker is a sportsman. Fiona Bruce is news. She is, you know, Question Time, all these things. She cannot align herself to one thing or the other. She always has to, whatever somebody says, she has to balance back. And that is the long and the short and the end of it. So I agree, Erin. We're in this cancel bloody culture. Instead of having discussions, we're like, sack the person, cancel the person, you know, try and destroy the person. And it's awful. And it doesn't encourage debate. It doesn't encourage understanding or kindness or allow for any kind of mistakes in the world. And we're a worse off world because of it. I'm telling you. Right. This story, I just wondered what people thought on this, because I'm a little bit torn on it. So this is a story about people with dyslexia shouldn't be forced to turn up to work on time, employment judge rules. This was the headline, right? Mail Online. So basically, this chap, Raymond Joseph Bryce, took his company to a tribunal over being sacked for being late. He said he'd been discriminated against after he told bosses his dyslexia meant he would be late for his own funeral. Now, he had said that his condition meant he was disorganized and he often misread the alarm clock in the morning. Apparently, he had told his employers when he went for the job that he is sometimes late because of this. Hi, Lee. Mark and Maddie are on their way to you. He insisted he would always be late and asked his managers for leeway in turning up 15 or 20 minutes late. After a string of incidents, they instead abruptly stopped offering him shifts. They stopped offering him shifts. So he was a security guard. And he accused them of not making reasonable adjustments for his disability. Very difficult, isn't it? So that panel heard that Mr. Bryce began doing shifts for this private security firm in December 2020. But he was late on 3 occasions over the next 3 weeks, prompting his manager to call him for a meeting. Mr. Bryce blamed his dyslexia in the time of year as the weather was cold and frosty and snowy, so travel could be disrupted. Fair enough. He goes, no matter how much I plan, I'm always late. I'm late for everything. I don't foresee danger. I'm like a rabbit in the headlights. So he also talks about how he finds it difficult to wake up and get ready for work on time. Again, the misreading of the clock. Anyway, and he says that his claim was direct disability discrimination. Hang on. So the tribunal found that the site did need to be manned at all times to ensure security, but this needed to be balanced against the discriminatory impact on the disabled person. It ruled that the firm could, for example, have accommodated Mr. Bryce's request for flexi hours and leeway to turn up 15 to 30 minutes later on occasion if they'd offered him weekend shifts, potentially at another site. What do we think? Now, obviously, I have ADHD, terrible problems with timekeeping. But I think it's great if companies can be flexible. And I think it's a good thing if we get to the place where people are going for jobs and saying up front what their challenges might be. But I'm also really sympathetic to employers. And if you're a security company and the person is late regularly, and I don't know what his actual job was, and the place that they're supposed to be safeguarding is then vulnerable because that person is consistently late, I can understand why they might think about continuing offering shifts. So I've kind of got sympathy for both. I mean, there's somebody I know that I work with, and bless him, he has really high levels of ADHD. And he said, oh God, he said, I can tell I'm annoying everybody because I keep on being late. And I said, well, yeah, but you're going to be like this your whole life. You've got to find a way. And if that means 3 alarm clocks set to get you out of the door on the exact time, then that's what you've got to do. And I think for you to just say, well, I'm just going to keep being late and everybody's annoying with me, that is going to cause you problems. And, we had a long chat about it, about how maybe he could try this, try that. And I just think to just put your hands up and say, I'm going to be late all the time, it's going to, understandably, put an employer off giving you a job. But if they are good enough to give you a job, knowing that that's going to be challenged for them, you've got to be seen to be trying as best you can to do everything you can. I mean, that's just my opinion, but then I don't know. What do you think? Pups don't lie. I think it's both, and reasonable adjustments with flexi, etc. But also, can a person have a morning role if it impacts on their mental health? Yeah. Julie Everts. It's a tricky one, to be honest. Is this something else going on? Jane Grimsey, could they not have told him the shift started 30 minutes before it actually did? Well, Jane, I did actually think of that. I did think of that. I've got a friend whose clock is set half an hour early. It's very annoying when you're there. Half an hour earlier than it is. And because I've just got into the habit with ADHD, I'm constantly looking at the time because I don't want to be late. I get everywhere. Mark and I are the other way with our ADHD. We get there super early because we can't bear the thought of being late. We panic about being late. Oh, look, there you go, MeTube. All her clocks are set 10 minutes early. But don't you go, you see, that wouldn't work for me because I go, oh, I've still got another 10. And then I'd get even more confused about the time. Jackie Valino, good point. It's not fair on other employees. It's going to cause unrest, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, it's all right for him to be late every day. You know, it's like those people that go off for a fag break 10 times a day, isn't it? It's not, yes, Jessica, I'm fine, thank you. I hope you're right. What do you think? Oh, Pam PMS, my dad used to do that with parties so everyone would leave early. Really? That's such a good idea. No, but people go, oh my God, is it really that time? And you'd check your own clock, wouldn't you? A Frog, if it's security, is the person he's taking over from having to stay unpaid or beyond time, affecting their life? Or is it left unmanned? Yeah, so many little caveats to this, isn't there? Yeah. I think if you really struggle with mornings, I think it's better to look for, I mean, I remember that when I was first out working, and I was like, I said to Mum and Dad, I'm going to get a job that isn't first thing in the morning because I know I'm going to be shit. And, you know, my first job was usheretting in theatres and I loved it. I'd have all the morning to get ready, and then I was around people that were similar thinking to me, you know, which was in the theatre. Yeah, I didn't earn a lot of money. It's my first job, but I loved it and I made it work for me. So, yeah, 6 in one, half a dozen the other. Mummy Bear Richardson, I'm a mum of 2 children, well, now both adults, but they're classed as severe learning disabled. One has autism as the other has other issues, but some people just do not understand. Yeah, and we are in a world, aren't we, Mummy Bear, where we are trying to understand more everything and people's neurodivergency. But I think all that while, we've also got to take into consideration employers. You know, like a friend of mine who very, very much wanted, and then we're going off neurodiversity here, but I'm going more to employers, who very, very much has always wanted to employ just women in her business. And, you know, she's a small business. 3 went off at the same time pregnant. I mean, that's been devastating for her business, absolutely devastating. So I feel for the women and they're having the baby, but I'm also like, oh my God, this has been a nightmare for her business. So, yeah. I mean, because we don't know the ins and outs. I mean, like, if I had been his boss, I would have said, listen, I know that you warned us of this, but is there any way we can help you a bit and suggest things like free alarm clocks and, like, you know, and just maybe say, you know, we really want to employ you, but you've got to meet us halfway. I mean, I suppose that's what he was asking for. He's asking for more flexibility, but yeah, just generally, it's a two-way street, you know. Right, I've got to go. I've got so much to do today. Sorry if I was a bit collywobbled. It's because actually we did too much this morning before I even start this, and I was a bit all over the place. So please forgive me. And what was that? Oh, okay, I missed that one. Looked like something interesting. But anyway, yes, he did win the case, but they're coming back for compensation. They're doing another, I don't know whether there has been a decision made on, I don't know what he asked for compensation-wise. They ruled that they could have been more flexible and maybe given him weekend shifts or offer him a job at another site and not just have stopped his shifts, which I that's what I was kind of saying, isn't it? Was there a conversation? Did they offer him lots of other things? Did they try and make it work, or did they just bam? He'd made a separate claim of direct disability discrimination, and that was rejected. Further hearing will now decide what compensation he is owed. So that's it for today. Oh, 2 new members. I missed them. What's your name, the new members? Well, come on tomorrow and we will sing you a welcome song. New members to the members area. We always sing a welcome song. It's always rubbish, by the way, but we do sing a welcome song. So remind me tomorrow. And if you want to join the members area, it works out £1.99 a month. And we do lovely stuff there. We do lots of lovely stuff on here, but we do extra stuff over there. And this Sunday, guys, I made another delicious thing. Made it yesterday. How were the donuts last week? I made jam donuts last week. They were delicious. I made them again last night. No, night before last. Anyway, lots of love. Mwah. Welcome to the new members, and I'll sing you a welcome song tomorrow. Love you. Bye.